Hello, hello, hello. Yep, that's it. What? I think I am officially live. Yep. Okay, getting set up here, making sure that everybody has an idea. Guys, if anybody is on Facebook or Instagram, please join the YouTube live. Don't join the Facebook and Instagram. The reason why I decided to go on Facebook and Instagram and go live there is because I know the majority of our audience is on Facebook and Instagram, okay? And TikTok, but we didn't, I don't know if we did a TikTok live. We should do a TikTok live. Do we have another device we can use? We have no other device we can use? See if there's something else you could use. What about, yeah, what about if you grab your phone and go live on TikTok? Okay, I'm gonna get started in a few minutes right now. It's still a little bit early, so it makes no difference. Again, everybody join the YouTube live. The link should be in the bio for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, the whole nine, okay? That way you can actually see what I'm doing. Otherwise, this is kind of all pointless. Wonder why the chat is disabled. I don't know why the chat is disabled. Got nothing there. Let's see. Maybe I can fix it. Live. Five watching. Okay, I see that, but I don't think the chat is enabled. And I don't know why. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. Let me see if I can get the chat fully enabled, and then we'll be good to go. Because if you guys can't ask me questions while we're doing this, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. I'm going to do a little bit of troubleshooting right now. Can you guys type into the chat or no? Somebody to try to write into the chat. If you can't, no problem. I'm going to put my email on here. Here. Yeah, I'm gonna put my email on here. John Milman at infiniteacademics.com. Okay. If you guys or you can text the number 3566865. That's the office number. So if you guys have any particular questions, just let me know. Yeah, the live chat is disabled. That's really weird. The live chat is disabled for this. That means people are not going to be able to ask questions. All right, guys. Well, anyway, do me a favor. Yeah, you can ask in Instagram. You can ask in Facebook. It's a little bit annoying. I don't know why. Again, just take down 929-356-6865. I'm gonna try to take a look at the chat every once in a while. YouTube, for whatever reason, um, disabled my live chat. Yeah, they disabled it. I can't turn it on for whatever reason to protect minors, whatever that means. Yeah, protect minors for other safety reasons. Channel videos audience is set to made for kids. Oh, so if I hit set for kids, but this is set for kids. That's super weird. Okay, apparently like I can't do like a live Q&A, which is beyond annoying. So that means I'm definitely gonna have to pick a different channel, I guess, because that's really really annoying. If I can't do live, what's up? Yeah, I could do flip. Yeah, yeah, sure. Well, that way I can actually see. I can actually see. We good? Oh, you want to do it like that? Again, to actually see the problems that I'm doing, you're gonna have to join the YouTube live. I think I'm gonna do a different platform next time. I'm probably just gonna go Facebook Live because YouTube Live doesn't let me, for whatever reason, because this is made for kids. I can't do a live chat, which I find incredibly stupid. But whatever. This is YouTube. This is YouTube nonsense. Yeah, this is YouTube nonsense. I don't really get that. Well, anyway, okay, we'll do a live chat. Just if you guys need to, again, it's 929-356-6865. That's again 929-356-6865. If you guys have any particular questions or anything comes up, just send a quick text or you can do an email. Okay, you could do an email. Here, I'll clip this in. This is hooked up to which one? Oh, that mic? That camera? And I'll answer whatever questions you can as we're going. Okay, but the point of this whole live is to not only answer all your questions, but it's to specifically go over the diagnostic evaluation exam that we give to every single one of our students here at Infinite Academics. Okay, so we break down. Well, I'm going to break down the entire exam from start to finish. I'm going to go through everything as much as humanly possible. We're going to be going for about an hour, hour and a half. Okay, I figured I'd go like a 7:05, 7:10. If you enable a video on live YouTube to be made for kids, people can. Yeah, I know. I don't. Hey BK Dylan. Yeah, I don't. I never knew that. Okay, let's put it that way. Sorry, man. Which totally sucks, but that's so stupid. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, I get it. I guess it's for safety reasons, but now I have to figure out a better way to do the chat or like do like a live chat. So if anybody needs, or maybe I'll just do it on Instagram. But it's kind of annoying that people have to do two things at the same time. But anyway. Okay, we're gonna go hardcore. We're gonna go straight into this. Okay, I'm gonna give it another like minute or so. If you have any particular questions, like general questions about the SAT, what is really required or anything like that, please just go onto the Instagram and you could join. You could ask me directly. This one's an Instagram, right? This is Instagram that everybody sees, or this is Facebook? I think that's Facebook. 100% that's Facebook. Yeah, this is the Infinite Academics Facebook. Okay, so if anybody wants to take a look there, they can ask me whatever questions because I'm seeing that live. And I have other people in here, so it should be working on Instagram as well. And it should be working. What's the other one? TikTok? Yeah, so TikTok, everything should be fine as far as the Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. The only thing that's not working for the live chat is YouTube, which I guess is for safety reasons. But again, that sucks. Maybe I'll just change it to made for kids. I don't know. Oh, yeah, this one is Instagram. Thanks, Lionel. Okay, cool. Sophie, what's up, Sophie? How's it going? Okay, we got some stuff to do, so I guess I'm just gonna get started right off the bat, and let's push this as much as we possibly can. Okay, guys? All right, so I'm going over exam one. Again, everything you'll be able to see on YouTube Live. Okay, so I'm gonna be breaking down each and every single question here. Maybe I'll figure out a way next week to, because I'll be doing these every week. Okay, maybe next week I'll figure out a way to get this totally live on Instagram or maybe Facebook. I don't know. Okay, we'll get better over time. So let's do this. All right. So everybody knows what the general idea behind the SAT is, right? So it's basically four modules, two reading, two math. Okay. It's all digital. Can't get anything else. Bring your own device. You got the general idea. Okay. When you're dealing with these, okay, the SAT is just a strategy game. Okay. And I'm going to play it like a strategy, a game. That's all this is. This is a video game. That's all this is. If you understand that, you already have half the exam locked down. The rest of the material, look, it's about 30% content. Okay. 40% practice and kind of understanding the actual patterns of this exam. And then 30% mindset. Okay. That 30% mindset is the hardest part, but I'll talk about that during the rest of the video as well. So let's break this down again. In order to see what I'm actually doing, you must go on the YouTube Live. Okay, it's on YouTube Live. If you access YouTube Live, it's on my personal John Milman. Okay, hashtag John Milman. You should be able to see it from there. If you have any questions or anything, just post it in the Instagram chat, TikTok chat, whatever it is. Okay, just post it in. I'll try to get to it as fast as humanly possible. And again, number is 929-356-6865. If you have any questions, just text directly or just email John Milman at infiniteacademics.com. So let's get started, all right? So if I'm looking at this digital practice test one, which is the diagnostic evaluation exam for every single one of our students, okay, that we give. And this exam is totally free. It's a diagnostic. So everybody really just takes this exam. And let me move myself because this is going to be a little bit on the annoying side. 1 second. Yeah, because I'm covering half the problem. There, move myself to the left. Okay. All right. So let's go through this. Stephen Hawking's book, A Brief History of Time. So the very first couple questions is always vocab. Okay. I don't know what else to tell you guys. It's always vocab. It's the same exact thing. First, like anywhere between 3 to 7 questions. And depending on whether or not you're going to get the hard module two, which hopefully you will, right? Because if you get a hard module two, let's be really clear, you're going to do better on the exam because you're not going to lose a ton of points. So first 5 to 7 questions are always vocab. What do we do with vocab questions? There's only two types. There's words in context and complete text. What do I mean by that? Basically, it's like fill in the blank, okay? And like in this case, it's a fill in the blank, or they're going to ask you for a specific word in the text, okay? If they ask you for a specific word in the text, you cross out the word, pretend like it's not even there. So basically, it's the exact same rule twice. So in this situation, okay, for typical vocab question, I'm always doing these first. Why? Not because they're easy, but legitimately because they're just fast. Okay, you either know them or you don't. There's not really like a I can figure this stuff out. That's usually not the case. And the biggest question I get is like, do I have to study vocab like crazy? Yes and no. Okay, I'll tell you what the answer is. Like, okay, if you're less than 1,000, okay, on the SAT, let's put it this way, less than 500 on the reading, okay, because we're only talking about the reading section, and the exam is out of 800 for each part, math reading. It'd be less than a 500, basically 500 to 550, or rather, I would say like 300 to 550. You don't need to study vocab. You just need to understand the exam. That's it, okay? Once you get past that 550 point, then anywhere between like a 550 and a 650, then you really need to start incorporating a little bit of vocab, but I wouldn't go nuts. Okay. It's not necessary. That's usually not the issue. It depends. Okay. Of course, I'm generalizing like crazy. You might have specific issues, and you can tell those specific issues through specific evaluation exams. Like our exams have specific reporting platforms. We customize each and every single thing based on what the students are really looking for. But if you're above, let's say, for example, a 650 or even like a 700, you better start studying vocab, okay? Because that might be your biggest issue, and you might not know it, right? Especially when it comes to these really, really complicated passages. You might not understand them because you just don't have the vocabulary skills in order to actually break them down. So that being said, I'm talking too much about the general idea, so let's go into this. Vocab questions, what the strategy here is always, you plug in your own word, you match your word with an answer choice. That's it. That's what you're doing every single time. So if I look at this, Stephen Hawking's book, A Brief History of Time, presents a broad overview of cosmology from the Big Bang to black holes. I don't need to read that. I do just for context. What I really need to do is just read the specific lines. Okay, I don't really need to read anything else. Despite discussing a complex subject, Hawking's use of clear language and relatable analogies has blank the understanding of cosmology for the general public, making it a bestseller. Okay, so what word would I put in here? Despite discussing a complex subject, Hawking's use of clear language and relatable analogies has made it really easy to understand, right? So if it's made it really easy to understand, I mean, it's just very simply simplified. Okay, that's literally the word I would put in here. So put in the word simplified, and it just so happens to be one of my answers. So look, notice what I did here. I didn't actually look at the answer choices, right? Or at least I tried not to. I mean, I kind of saw simplified, but and I picked it, but it is what it is. But I tried to avoid the word that looking at the answer choices because the answer choices will trap me into coming up with an answer that really doesn't that really shouldn't work, and instead I convince myself that something exists when it really doesn't. So instead, come up with your own word, right? In this case, I really literally put in the same exact word, simplified, whatever. It's an easy question, but you have to be careful and come up with your own word, then match your word with an answer choice. So again, just to break this down, read the line, read the sentence, come up with your own word, match your word and answer. That's it. Nice and simple. Let's try another one. So number two, okay, I'm gonna break this down. Uh, so I'm not gonna read anything else. I'm just gonna read the line in question. His groundbreaking theory of relativity, which posits, basically, it's like theorizes, that space and time are intertwined, has blank our perspective on reality. So I would say has changed our perspective on reality. Okay, has I don't know, shifted, something along those lines. Okay, try not to look at the answer choices. Didn't look at them. Let's go through it. Disintegrated. It means falls apart. That's not even close to what I'm looking for. Forged. That means created. I don't think Einstein created our perspective on reality. That's a bit much. Okay, he's not like forging a new reality in a new space-time continuum here. That's a bit that you're going too far. Elevated. Okay, elevated means changed, made it better. I don't know about elevated because it could. What's to tell that it Didn't make it worse, right? Hypothetically. And unraveled. Unraveled is basically the same thing as disintegrated, like pull it apart, right? You would unravel a present. No, the only answer that could possibly work here is elevated. So again, relatively straightforward, but again, it goes from easy, medium to hard. So this is relatively straightforward. Okay, nothing complicated here. Keep it simple, plug in your own word, match your word in the answer choice. Let's go to number 3. However, extensive deforestation, largely due to agricultural practices, has blanked the delicate ecological balance of this biodiverse region. So what? Has I don't know, put it in danger, right? Something like that. Has put the delicate ecological balance, has dangerized, that's not a word, but whatever, you get the idea. The delicate ecological balance of this biodiverse region. So dangerized, okay, made it dangerous. Something like that, right? Put it in danger, endangered. That's the word I was looking for. Anyway, augmented. Augmented means put two things together. That doesn't fit. Jeopardized. Well, endangered. Jeopardized. They're kind of the same thing. Jeopardize literally means to put something at risk. So that works beautifully here. Revitalize is to bring back to life. No. And mitigate means to make less severe. Again, no. The answer here is clearly jeopardized. Okay. Nice and simple. Just understand the basic idea. And yeah, you do need to know some vocab. I don't know what else to tell you. But you should know what Jeopardy is, right? The game Jeopardy. Anyway, let's keep going. Number 4. If I'm going fast for you guys, okay, let me know. Try to let me know in the comments, or I mean, this is gonna be posted on the YouTube, anyway, so you guys can always watch or rewatch these videos regardless. Okay, and everybody has access to this, so it's not really like, okay, you have to be one of our students in order to have access. Not a big deal. Okay. Let's keep going. I'm going to read the line in question. Among the prominent artworks of this period, Michelangelo, blah, blah, blah. If I see complex names, don't freaking read them. Okay? Now, like, don't make like a super emphasis on this. Like, I see a lot of people going like, well, it's MB. Don't worry about the name. Okay, but like that's not. I don't think you should be using brain power to like understand that you shouldn't be pronunciating Buonarroti's skull. Like you shouldn't be doing that, right? Just don't read it. Okay, you can hyphenate it, create an acronym. Very simple. Just make it MB. Anyway, sculptural works, right? So among the prominent means famous. Okay, important. My MB's sculptural works, such as the Statue of David, great. Okay, cool. Blank the ideals of humanistic beauty. Okay. Um, so what did he really do? I don't know. I have to read the first sentence here because I'm not following what it is that he did with the ideals of humanistic beauty. Put it together, got an idea about what it is. I'm going to read the first sentence. Let's see. In the Renaissance, the arts flourished with a renewed interest in the aesthetics of classical antiquity. Yeah, that doesn't help me here. So obviously I didn't read it so well enough. So I'm going to read that one sentence once again. Among the prominent artworks of this period, okay, important, great. MB sculptural works such as the Statue of David blank the ideals of humanistic beauty. Created a good example of. That's the only thing I can think of, right? So basically, what they're saying is that the Statue of David created a great example of the ideals of humanistic beauty. At least that's what I think it is. I hope I find an answer that works here. So let's go through it. A, negated. Negated means goes against. New. Overshadowed. Okay. That makes it like much more severe. I don't really know how that would fit here. Encapsulated. Encapsulated means like put it together. Like we get like a good understanding of it. We basically captured it. I kind of like it, right? Everything works here. And dissolved means destroy. Like we didn't destroy the statue. That makes no sense. So clearly the answer here is encapsulated because it gave us a good picture, gave us a good insight of this. So, pretty straightforward. Took me a little while to actually come up with my own word, but anyway. Number 5. Ooh, love it. Words in context question. Okay, so you got to be super careful about this question, all right? Because they're literally giving you a word here. And the whole idea here is, and I can guarantee you there's like a synonym. Okay, like one of the answer choices is definitely going to synonym. Like I'm trying not to look, but I'm going to look anyway. Okay, or let's see if there's a synonym to here and see if there's an answer that matches that, right? So riotous. Okay, so if you're just joining in on the live, just to be clear, if you see a word, okay, if you see a word like this, a words in context for the vocab, cross out the word, pretend like it doesn't even exist. Because what the SAT likes to do, makers of the College Board, makers of the SAT, the College Board, they love to put in a synonym that will actually match the answer, but the synonym will almost never be right. Okay, I'm not gonna say never, but almost never. Like some of my students are like, John, you've said that before. Yeah, my strategies work like 98% of the time, which is really good to get you the 1550 range. Okay, And if you're not happy with that, well, then you have to talk to me, individually, and then you need to actually go through this and think. But let's get to the 1550 and then we'll have the discussion. Anyway, riotous. I'm looking for a synonym right now with riotous because I can almost guarantee that's not going to be the answer here. So riotous is like rowdy, problematic, right? Creating a riot. I don't know. Extravagant. That's like wealthy. That doesn't work. Upset. Kind of. Rebellious. Rebellious is like the perfect synonym to riotous. Does everybody see that? Everybody should see that riotous is literally the perfect synonym. Rebellious. Rebellious, riotous, I don't really see the difference. And hysteric is pretty good too, right? Hysterical, right? It's a little bit more of a stretch. But rebellious is like a perfect synonym. I'm pretty sure if I go on thesaurus.com right now and check the word riotous, I will see the word rebellious as one of the options. And I can guarantee you that C is not the answer. Like, there's no way that rebellious will be an answer. Why? Because it's just a trap answer. Okay? Because a lot of people don't understand this exam. A lot of people don't understand the strategy behind this exam. And they're just going to pick rebellious because it's like, oh, riotous, synonym, boom, done. I don't have to read this giant ass paragraph. I don't want to deal with it. Well, be careful, okay? Because you can't do that. Oh, I'm not supposed to curse because this is on YouTube, right? Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Anyway, on weekends, his Rolls Royce became an omnibus, bearing parties to and from the city between the colossal unrest of Gatsby's house and the riotous gardens that lapped the shore. Okay, but we're talking about The Great Gatsby, okay? One of the books that I make everybody read in my advanced course. And when we're talking about Great Gatsby, like by definition, it's always extravagant, wealthy, and like really lavish. Those are the first like three words that come to mind when I'm thinking about The Great Gatsby. And I wouldn't really call gardens rebellious. Like, what are a bunch of plants trying to like fight each other and fight the man? I don't really see how that would work here. Upload photos and videos from G. That's weird. Okay, I got a weird notification. Yeah, I don't. It can't be riotous. Okay, it can't be anything involving riotous. It can't be hysteric. The leaves are not hysterical. They're not upset. They're not rebellious. There's no way anything else could possibly be except extravagant. Because immediately when I make the connotation towards Great Gatsby and extravagant, it works. Then I have to read it in context, right? The colossal unrest of Gatsby's house and the extravagant gardens that lapped the I mean, that's like literally freaking perfect, right? Because he's talking about the Rolls Royce, the omnibus pairing parties to and from the city, and the colossal unrest, which is just massive parties. I mean, it fits perfectly as the most beautiful adjective here that describes Great Gatsby. So it has to be extravagant for all these different reasons. Okay. Now, one of the most important things you guys can get out of me, and I talk about this all the time from all my students, is my thought process in actually not only breaking down the right answer, but breaking down all the wrong answers as well. Because you not only have to understand why your answer is actually correct, but why the wrong answers are actually wrong. Okay? A lot of people don't do that. And that's like SAT 101. Know how to do that, break that down, and you will absolutely crush it. Okay? Let's go. Let's move on to number 6. Okay, so now if you see number 6, okay, the first thing that you're going to see is it says which choice best describes the overall structure. So one of the rules that I tell all my students is number 1, read the question first. Like you have to read the question. If you don't read the question, you don't know what you're doing. And when you're going through these, all the questions repeat. Okay, so now like I have a reading cheat sheet that I'm actually going to post for you guys. Okay, for anybody who wants it. Um, if you get the if you look at the reading cheat sheet, there's basically like 11 or 12. I don't remember off the top of my head. And since this is live, I don't want to screw this up. So I don't remember. Okay. Basically, there's like 11 or 12 different types of reading prompts. That's it. It cannot be more than that. It can't. Okay. There's no such thing. All right. There are oval structure questions. Okay. Main idea questions, which I categorize as broad scope questions because they're basically asking about the passage as a whole. There's narrow scope questions, which are explicit or implicit, right? So it's either going to be directly stated or implied, which has the word suggest, imply, infer, right? So that's okay. That's two major types of questions: broad scope, narrow scope. Okay. Then we got support and undermine questions, okay, which are basically illustrate questions. We're looking for new information to back up the text or go against it. We have function purpose questions, which are basically what I call the why questions. We got graphs or data table questions. We got which have graphs and data tables. Okay, we got double passages, okay, which basically have two passages right next to each other that ask you to compare and contrast the two. We got poems, okay, that's a kind of a big one. And then we got my favorite are complete the text questions. The reason why I call them they're my favorite is because they're the most difficult ones, okay? And there's specific strategies, and in the cheat sheet, there's like specific reasons of why you have to do each and every single one. But as all my students know, and all of you need to know, do not do these reading questions first. I'll repeat that again. Do not do these reading questions first. Why? Since nobody can type into the chat, I have no other choice but to just tell you. They're going to take too long. Okay. You don't want to be going through all of these, reading through, and then the realisticity, by the way. Okay. So my exams are, we didn't go crazy with like the length of the actual passage. Okay. We kept the passages relatively short and sweet into the style of the SAT, like the blue book exams. We just tried to increase the level of difficulty by like 5, 10. Okay. Like, in other words, whatever the concepts are, whatever the language is there, we tried to just multiply it. Okay. And we tried to give you the hardest stuff possible. So the realisticity, the questions themselves and the answer choices and the passage is actually going to be way easier than my exams. But those passages are going to be literally twice as long. So just because you see long passages, that doesn't mean that they're hard. They're actually usually much easier. But there's a lot more information to break down. So one of the things that I do have to work on with my exams is making the passages longer. But that's not very difficult. I'll just make them longer. Anyway, let's go into this. Okay, again, you see complete the text questions. Don't deal with these first. This is a whole bunch. See, it's going to take you too long. It's going to take like 3-4 minutes each and every single one. So then you get to like question 14, okay? And all of a sudden it says, which choice completes the text so that it conforms to conventions of standard English? Guys, like, let's be really clear. I'm doing this quickly because I see like the last 3 words. I see like, I see the last 2 words. I see standard English. As soon as I see standard English, I go, okay, that's gotta be a grammar question, okay? Nice and simple, straightforward. Now, when I see grammar questions, I want to deal with those first. But honestly, I'm not going to skip through each one looking for which one I'm going to deal with. No, hell no. Okay. What I'm going to do is this is literally how I'm going to take the exam. Okay. I'm going to go, okay, vocab, 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 bam, reading. Okay. I'm not touching reading. I'm going straight to the end. Why? Because the end, as a lot of my students know, are note taking questions. Note taking questions are fast, not easy, fast. Why do I say that they're fast? Because you don't really have to read the notes like 98, 99% of the time. It is very rare that you actually have to read the notes. So, and I will specifically prove it to you. Okay, we're going to go break down each and every single piece, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. The student wants to explain, I'm not reading the notes, I'm literally just trying to zoom in right here. Okay, the student wants to explain an advantage of the online exploration of the Baroque period in music. Okay, advantage of Baroque period in music. Advantage of Baroque period. Advantage of this period. Whatever. Okay, so something involving advantage of this period. I have no idea. I just need to find an answer choice that's going to match that. A. The online exploration of the Baroque period featured a timeline with influential composers and their compositions. Okay, but is that an advantage or is that a feature? Let me explain. So let's say, for example, I have, what's the advantage of this Apple Pen, right? The advantage of this Apple Pen is that I can keep all the notes that I write down electronically immediately. That's a big advantage to a traditional pencil. Big difference. Advantage. What's a feature? A feature is I can remove this top cap thingy and replace it. Or I can probably double tap and it'll change from a pen feature to an array. Do you guys get the difference between a feature and an advantage? Serious difference. Okay. So I'm looking for an advantage, not a feature. So what's better by doing this online versus doing this on paper? Anyway, let's break that down. So A is not the answer. No way. B, selecting a composer or piece of music led users to audio sample, sheet music, and analysis. Okay, but that's kind of just like I don't even know what that is. I guess that's a feature. That's just like a fact of doing things online. It's just a fact of this. I guess this is another feature, not an advantage, right? See, the online exploration of the Baroque period appealed to users because it gave them control over their learning experience. Okay, so this appealed to users because it gave them control. Yeah, that's actually an advantage, right? So if it gave them control over something, it gave them the ability to learn more concepts, it gave them a better understanding of the material, then that's 100% an advantage. Like 100% an advantage. I don't know what else would be considered an advantage, right? If you have full control over your learning experience, then clearly that's an advantage. I love C. D. Music enthusiasts created an interactive online exploration of the Baroque period filled with influential composers in the works. But that's just what it is. Okay, that's a definition of the thing, not an advantage even slightly. So it doesn't answer my question. So clearly the answer here is C. And you just have to break it down like this, right? Now, am I saying note taking questions are easy? No, I never said that. All I'm saying is that note taking questions involve very little reading and on average are much faster than regular questions. Okay, it's just that simple. Let's go to question 26. So guys, now if you notice, I'm just working backwards. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit faster because I'm not gonna give you a breakdown of what note taking questions are. But again, I don't look at the actual notes. I'm just breaking down each and every single point. So the student wants to explain the functional significance of the narwhal's tusk. Significance of tusk, importance of tusk. Significance is just importance. A, the narwhal's tusk is its distinguishing feature, which scientists believe had a sensory function. But it's distinguishing, it means it's different from other types of animals, mammals, whatever. Okay, does this really have anything to do with its functional significance? I don't know why we're using it, right? Functional means what you're using, significance is importance. So the tusk has to provide some kind of, I don't know, advantage when it comes to survival, right? Survival of the fittest. I'm thinking evolutionary adaptation. This doesn't fit here. Okay, no way is it A. B. The tusk of the narwhal can detect changes in water conditions, aiding in navigation. Okay, clearly that's a typo. Aiding in navigation and in the finding of food. I mean, this is a clear advantage. This is talking about the tusk. It's talking about the whale. I mean, this freaking slam dunk answer. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'll look at C and D. Despite residing in harsh Arctic conditions, the narwhal survives thanks to its tusk. That's an advantage too, which is actually an extended tooth. Whoa, what? Yeah, but I don't care about the fact that it's surviving in a harsh Arctic conditions. That doesn't really fit here at all. What do we care about that? I guess it could, but like, isn't this a little bit far fetched? The tusk is the reason why it's surviving in harsh Arctic conditions. The whole thing is strange. Okay, I just don't even think this is like right in any possible way. But regardless of the situation, this whole extended tooth theory is also a little bit too much. D, I'm not going to pronounce it, or the narwhal is known for its extended tooth or tusk, but it's not an advantage at all. Functional significance, rather. The answer here is clearly B. Okay, I can't say anything else. Again, C just it just I can't say it sounds ridiculous because that's not true. I'm just saying it has a lot of irrelevant information. And when it has a lot of irrelevant information, my mind goes, that can't be right. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Because everything within an answer choice has to actually be right. Okay. There can't be something in an answer choice that can be wrong. Okay. Or can be completely sidetracked. There could be ambiguous information, like a little bit of like very vague stuff, but this is not vague. Like, why do I care about an extended tooth? Like, that is such random, irrelevant information to this. It cannot be right. Versus B, the tusk of the narwhal can detect changes in water conditions, aiding in navigation and the finding. I mean, that is by far talking about functional significance the entire time. The answer here is B without a discussion. Okay. I didn't want to go into C, but C is a little bit trappy because it does give you right information, but part of it is irrelevant. If part of the information in answer choice is irrelevant, it cannot be right because irrelevant information by definition is also considered wrong, at least for the purpose of the SAT. Let's go. 25. Guys, for those of you who just joined the live, please, if you want to see what I'm actually doing, go on the YouTube live so that way you can break it down. If you have any particular comments, questions, you can post on the Instagram live, post on the Facebook live, post on the Instagram live because I directly see that. I can't see the YouTube comments because apparently I made this whole channel for kids, and because it's made for kids, there's nothing I can do about it. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I'll change it for the next live. Let's go through it. The student wants to emphasize the role of Finlandia in promoting independent Finnish national identity. Okay, so emphasizing a role promoting independent Finnish national identity. Something to do with Finnish identity. I don't really know what this is talking about, but this sounds like some kind of patriotic nonsense on Finland. Nothing against Finlandians. Cool. But anyway, this is something to do with patriotism, something to do with that. I have no clue. Let's go through this. Sibelius explored themes of protest when composing Finlandia in response to Russian oppression. This is a response to something else, nothing to do with Finlandian national identity or Finnish national identity. I need patriotism. A's out. B. The composer of Finlandia, a national emblem of Finland, refuse to alter it in response to pressure. But this doesn't talk about patriotism. Doesn't work. C. Sibelius, a renowned Finnish composer known for symphonic music, composed Finlandia, which is known for its stirring hymn. Nothing to do. It's just talking about the beautiful symphony, orchestra, cool, nice stuff. Nothing to do with promoting Finnish identity. D, yeah, but I hope that's going to be, a solid answer. Finlandia, composed to protest Russian rule over Finland, serves as a symbol of Finnish nationalism. Hurrah! I win. Finally. D is clearly the answer. Finnish nationalism, patriotism, same concept. The answer here is clearly D. Okay, so just be careful when it comes to these. Give me 1 second. Let me just double check all these chats. Let's see. Again, if anybody just joined the live, you guys can access the entire live on YouTube. Please do me a favor. Just go on the YouTube. You guys will see everything from there. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what's going on here. Let me double check all of this. Okay, whatever. I give up. Okay. I'm trying to figure out this chat thing. It just, I don't know. Whatever. It is what it is. Okay, let's keep going. The answer 24. Let's break this down. The student wants to highlight the lasting scientific contributions of the Kepler telescope. Okay, lasting contributions, Kepler telescope. Lasting contributions, Kepler telescope. Cool. Fine. So something to do with the fact that the Kepler telescope lasts forever. That's basically the idea here. Okay. So A, even after its mission ended in 2018, the data from the Kepler telescope continues to be analyzed, leading to new discoveries about our galaxy. I mean, that's clearly like a slam dunk answer. I don't know if I'm going to go through anything else. We're talking about Kepler telescope and how it still affect today. Love A, beautiful. B, during its operational life, the Kepler telescope discovered, I mean, automatically it's wrong because it doesn't talk about the lasting contributions. So that's out. C, Kepler 452b, known as Earth's cousin, was among the significant discoveries. It doesn't talk about the scientific contributions today, right? We need to talk about what happens after the Kepler telescope, or like what's happening today, something like that, the future implications. D, the Kepler Space Telescope, launched by NASA in 2009, was tasked with the discovery of Earth-like planets orbiting other stars. I don't care what it was tasked with. I only care about the lasting scientific contributions. The answer here is clearly A, without a question. Okay. Let's keep pushing. 23. So now we're finally getting to the transition words. Okay, so if you notice, you'll do all the SATs are exactly the same. So you start off with vocab, then jump to the end. Then you got transition. Oh, sorry. Whoops. Note taking. Then into transition words. You're going to see like 2 to 4 questions like this. Transitions are hard, by the way. Short, but hard. Always. Always hard because you really have to understand it and apply grammatical concepts as well. So we'll talk about that. Then grammar rules, which are easy if you know the grammar rules. And then it goes into all the reading concepts. So let's go through this. So in these cases, with the idea behind transition words, a couple rules. Number one, transition words can be put either in the beginning of a sentence, middle of a sentence, or the end of a sentence. The idea behind a transition word is always the same. It's going to transition from the previous sentence. I'll repeat that again. From the previous sentence. So what do I mean by that? In this situation, right? Let's look at this. I have usually, I've never seen it actually longer than this. 3 sentences, right? So let me give you a better understanding. So if I have, let's just say, for example, sentence 1, then 2, then 3. If I put the transition word, I should say, I'm going to put that in red and big T. If I put the transition word here in sentence 1, it's going to transition from the previous sentence, which sometimes you don't get. They can do this, just a heads up. If I put the transition word in 2, it's going to transition from 1 to 2. And if I put it in 3, it's going to transition from 2 to 3. I mean, that's the only possibilities it could possibly be. Okay. And then you just have to figure out what the type of transition word are. Now, there's essentially 7 different types of transitions. Okay. There are causations, right? Cause and effect relationships, additions, adding on brand new information, contradictions will go against the actual claim, conclusions, which will end the actual claim, kind of like a add on to additions. Okay. Rather, more cause and effect. Sorry about that. Then there are examples, like for example, like adding on a specific point. There are clarifications, such as indeed to clarify a specific point. There are what am I missing? Additions, contradictions, causations, examples, conclusions. I think I got all. I might be missing one or two. Clarifications. That's 7, right? Anyway, don't remember. Regardless of the situation, it's on the grammar cheat sheet. Take a look at it. I'm gonna be posting it on this live afterwards, rather on the comment section. So if you don't have access to it, let me know. If not, I'm gonna be posting it after the fact so you guys can get access to it. So that's not an issue. And again, if you want to, just text this. I will send it to you afterwards, completely free. It's not a big deal. Okay, let's keep going. Now, in ancient times, observing the night sky could only be done with the naked eye. Okay, cool. This limited people's understanding of the cosmos and led to a variety of mythologies. Okay, this is basically a cause and effect relationship, but I don't need to put the transition sentence there. I need to put the transition word, rather not sentence, in the third sentence. Blank telescopes allow astronomers to see distant galaxies, providing a more factual basis for understanding the universe. Okay, so this is, I mean, what is this doing? This is giving a timeline. This is giving a time frame, right? Because all this is saying is, and I'm trying not to look at the answer choices. I'm saying, okay, telescopes allow astronomers to see distant galaxies, providing a more factual basis for understanding the universe. So this is giving more information, but in the time frame aspect, because this is what's happening now versus what's happening then. The whole thing started off ancient times to more contemporary to absolutely now. So I'm looking for an answer that's like, well, now, right? Some kind of transition like that. I mean, clearly, I see nowadays that works beautifully. Consequently, could work perfectly. Okay, because it's a cause and effect relationship. But in this situation, because we're looking for really a conclusion more than anything else, and we're talking about the time frame than anything else, the timeline works better here. A timeline works better as a transition than anything else. Plus, I wouldn't really say that thousands of years of history created created essentially a consequence. Okay, consequence usually has some negative connotation here, so that just doesn't fit. We're not comparing anything, and nevertheless is a type of contradiction, so clearly the answer has to be nowadays, so just be careful with these. Next, I'm going to go a little bit faster. Let's go to the first one. 1958, a musicologist, R.G., published an Adagio in G minor, a creatively reconstructed composition attributed to T.A. Shortly after, many scholars questioned its authenticity. Okay, they questioned its like whether it was authentic or not. Cool. Blank Giazzotto had long maintained that the Adagio was an inspired tribute. He finally admitted that he was indeed its only author. Adagio in G minor is now attributed solely to Giazzotto. Okay, cool. Now, what am I really looking for here? Okay, I'm looking for an understanding of, again, more timeline, right? It says shortly after, many scholars questions authenticity. Uh, and then, right, Giazzotto had long maintained that the Adagio was an inspired tribute, right? Something along those lines. We're still talking about timeline here, okay? Because the whole thing is time. I mean, look, it said, 1958, then shortly after, and now, basically what was happening at the same time, right? So in that case, because it's at the same time, it's going to be a while. Okay, again, we're talking about a time word. Yes, they can do that. They've done transition words like that all the time. So the while works quite well here. Yeah, it's not going to be since because this is happening at the exact same time. Giazzotto had long maintained that Adagio was an inspired tribute. He's basically saying like everybody said that he was copying somebody else, right? He's a cheat. He's a liar. But at the same time, he said that he took it as an tribute, right? So at the same time is what I'm looking for because I'm looking for at the same time is going to be wild. Okay, that clearly works in this situation. Let's keep pushing. 21. Um, Thomas Albanini, whatever, considered himself a musical dilettante, meaning that he dabbed in several musical genres for his own personal pleasure. One of his most recognizable pieces provided the musical backdrop to dozens of films, from Flashdance to Manchester by the Sea 2016. Blank, it has saturated the soundtracks of so many movies that New Yorker film critic Anthony Lane jested that the work should be banned on screen altogether. Okay, so we're trying to. He's saying that it's so saturated. He did such a good job kind of telling everybody that, oh my god, like this is the most incredible thing ever, that honestly it should be banned altogether. Okay, fine. This is a result, it's a causation. It's because he was everywhere, now we should ban him, right? Because that's the key word that we're looking for, and I'm looking for a causation. In fact, well, in fact, as a clarification, could technically work here? I'm gonna hold off on that. I'm not 100% sure. Technically, clarification could work here because we're kind of restating the same thing. I don't know. I'm gonna hold off on that. Even so, no, even so is a contradiction that doesn't fit. In addition, we're not adding on a new point. Additions must be new. They can't be old. If they're old additions, then they're clarifications, which is a restatement of the same thing. All the while is a timeline. We finally have a question that has nothing to do with time frame here. So no way is it D. There's no way it's B or C. Could it possibly be a clarification? Yeah, we could be restating the exact same thing. I didn't think that at first. I thought it was a causation. I thought it was like because his music and his stuff was everywhere, we should just ban him because he's just getting annoying. All right, that's my own opinion, not quite here. This is clearly a clarification, actually, because we are basically saying like one of the recognized pieces provided musical backdrop like everywhere. It was in dozens of films. In fact, it was so annoying, right? It worked quite well. So the only answer that could possibly work here is A. Let's keep pushing through. So now we no longer have a transition word. Now we have grammar rules. Okay, so there's a list of like basically 12 to 15 grammar rules. You know them, great. The only problem here is that they can be used in combination, right? So you can have like a colon, semicolon, comma rule all in one question. We can have like multiple positive rules. We can have different like subject verb agreements. All this stuff can mumble together. So if I'm speaking in a way that people you guys don't really understand, you have to learn the rules. You have to break them down. You really have to find a fundamental way to like really go through each and every single question and really understand them fundamentally. Otherwise, you're gonna have a problem. Grammar is by far the easiest part of the reading portion. That's without a question. Like, there's no arguing that because you either know the rules or you don't. There's no like, oh, I gotta figure this out. Mm-mm. It's always the same thing. The question here is like, it's hard to actually learn the rules. So there's a difference. I talk about this all the time. There's a difference between a learning curve, right? What is a learning curve? Something that is actually difficult to learn. Okay. Grammar is very difficult to learn, but once you learn it, you're a beast. Okay. You're just great. Okay. All you have to do is learn the content here. So grammar is like exponential. So it's always the same thing. It's really hard in the beginning, and then all of a sudden you just skyrocket upwards because that whole learning point is like right here and it's super annoying. Versus reading is more like, well, most of you know how to read, I hope. And you start off pretty good. So it's kind of exponential, but like in the wrong way. Okay. It's kind of like a backwards curve. Okay. And what happens is a lot of people are like, okay, they're really good in the beginning. They get really, really good in the beginning. And then they stop getting good altogether. And then it's so hard to go past that point. Okay. So it's like everybody goes up like 50 to 100 points real fast. But then what happens is they stop getting good altogether because it's hard because then you have to really understand the material on a different level. You have to really dive into the strategies. You have to improve your reading comprehension. You have to improve your vocabulary, your diction, your lexicon. All that stuff has to go through the roof. Now that can get complicated. But anyway, give me a second. Okay. Which choice completes the text? Okay, so this is a typical grammar question. Once she had developed a natural deodorant that seemed promising, Jess Edelstein asked her friend Sarah Ribner to test it. Okay, you don't have to read all that because it's a grammar question, right? All you have to do is read the specific line number. Ribner was impressed with the product and thought it had potential. Um, Okay, I'm gonna read the answer choices. That's all I need to do. I don't need to read the question. I don't need to read anything. I just need to read the answer choices. So potential and the two women decided. Like this is like simple independent scenario. Just need to put a period in between them. Okay. Now you need to know comma and semicolon and period are basically the same thing. So like I have as general rule, comma and is the same thing as a semicolon. It's the same thing as a period. These all separate independently with independent clauses. Okay. So basically, what I'm looking for here is I'm trying to go, okay, Ribner was impressed with the product and thought it had potential. Period. The two women decided to become business partners. Period. Okay. That's it. That's what I want. Two separate sentences, two separate independent clauses. A is connecting the two independent clauses. It's not going to work in this situation. Okay, and doesn't connect two different independent clauses with different subjects. Way off. Okay. B, comma the. You can't do comma the two women. You're separating independent clauses with a comma. By definition, commas do not separate independent clauses. You got to be really careful with comma and noun rules as well because you have comma splicing issues all the time, so be really careful there. A semicolon is a period by itself. So then if you read it, it becomes, and the two women decided to become, that's not a sentence. You can't go, and the two women decided to become business partners. That's not the foundation of an independent clause. You have a weird fragment, right? Because you're starting a sentence with and in that situation without creating a modifier. That doesn't work. And yes, you can start a sentence with and, but you can't do it like that. Okay, you have to set up a modifier. And D, comma and, replace the comma and with a period. Then it literally becomes Ribner was impressed with the product and thought it had potential. Period. The two women decided to become business partners. Perfect. The answer here is clearly D. That's without a question. Let's keep pushing. 19. By demonstrating the role of microorganisms in the spread of diseases, boom, dangling modifier. Everybody should know that if you're starting a sentence with something like by, okay, by, because, anything that's really like a kind of transition word or a conjunction, dangling modifier, 100% of the time. Be careful. By demonstrating the role of microorganisms in the spread of diseases, what, right? You have to be describing the actual subject. Who's demonstrating the role of microorganisms in the spread of diseases? It's gotta be Pasteur. It's the only human being here. I can clearly see that. The answer is B. Slam dunk, 10 seconds. Let's go. 18. For people of the northeastern United States and lower regions of eastern Canada, again, another dangling modifier situation. For people of northeastern United States and lower regions of eastern Canada, what? We're talking about the stuff. What is for the people of the northeastern United States and lower regions of eastern Canada? What is it, right? What are we talking about? It's got to be the nighttime sound of frogs, but not with a comma at the end of it, because you're just saying the nighttime sound of frogs is a harbinger of spring. Okay, that's it. You're just continuing it out because the nighttime sound of frogs is your subject. Is a harbinger of spring. That's the verb, specifically a modal verb. But that getting really technical. Anyway, the idea here is clearly B, uh, because that's just the rule, literally for a dangling modifier. Again, very difficult to understand if you don't know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, study grammar rules. We have books. We have a whole bunch of free material. By all means, for those of you who are my student currently tuned in, you better know what you're talking about because I've taught you all of this stuff. 17. Physicians focus on diagnosis and pharmacies focus on drug therapies. A division of labor and resources that, I mean, that what? Okay, you got to be careful with this. This is the same thing I've told everybody 1,000 times. What is our actual subject? This is a clear subject verb agreement problem. A lot of people immediately go, that are. Yeah. But then I go, well, why isn't it that have or that have been? Why not? Right? Immediately, if you see B or C, you immediately get stuck between the two. You got to be careful with that, right? Because what are we talking about here? Are we talking about the division of labor and resources? You should know that as soon as you see of, you immediately go modifier, right? So if you see modifier, you got to cross out whatever's after the modifier. So is it labor and resources are, or is it a division is? The subject in the sentence is a division because everything that comes after the of sets up the modifier. So it doesn't work here. So anybody who's thinking are, you're wrong. You're sounding it out. You must know the rules. Be careful with this. The answer here is clearly A. Okay. Let's keep pushing. 16. When you start a sentence with when, I mean, clearly, guys, it's a modifier. I don't know what else to tell you. This should be relatively straightforward. So immediately I'm looking for like when zoologist Roland and Reich compared the genome of savanna elephant to the genome of the forest elephant, comma, they. I mean, this is so easy and slam dunkish. It's not even funny, so I'm not even going to continue with this. If you don't know dangling modifiers, it's a huge issue. Break this down, pay attention to dangling modifiers, understand them because they're all over this exam. I mean, I went over like 3 so far. What do we have? Like, okay, we got dangling modifier, well, subject verb agreement, dangling modifier, dangling modifier. Okay, that's 3. Okay, a comma and semicolon, right? Separation independent clauses, and that's it. Okay, that's basically it. So like 5 questions, 5 grammar questions, 3 of them were dangling modifiers. I mean, yeah, I think you guys get my point. 15. So again, another grammar question. Okay, still conventions of grammar of standard English rather. So by using advanced underwater recording devices and analyzing the whale's vocalizations, okay, so we're using these 2 things, right? The communication patterns. Uh, who's using advanced underwater recording devices? I mean, who is it? It's clearly Dr. Sarah Miller and whoever else, right? It has to be like comma they. Okay, it can't be anything else. So I gotta put comma they. The communication patterns, no. Humpback whales, I'm pretty sure humpback whales are not using recording devices. That would be funny. Anyway, I guess it's possible, but that'd be weird. See, researchers, 100%. That's the they. Yes, 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 without a question. Let's keep pushing. 14, more grammar. For example, they designed some smaller symbols, comma. Hold on, let me see. For example, they designed some smaller symbols, comma, pair the downside symbol. I'm trying to see this. Period. Okay. I mean, clearly A doesn't work. No way. No shot. Okay, because you got the semicolon at the end. It's the same as a period. Just doesn't work. B, symbols, comma, pair the downside symbols. Well, now you're creating it a positive, I think. For example, they design. Okay, for example is the transition word. Then we have they, was just subject. They designed some smaller symbols, comma, paired the downside symbols, comma, and oh, I didn't even notice that. That's a list. Oh, that kind of works, right? They designed small symbols, paired them, and rigged them. Oh, that's beautiful. Parallelism works. It's a list, 100%. Didn't see the list at first, but it is what it is. Okay. That's what happens when I do a live at 7 o'clock. Anyway, let's keep ripping through. Now we got to complete the text question. Okay, so complete the text questions are by far the most difficult. Why? Because you're looking for cis, support, infer, stop. Question has to support the text. Well, rather, the answer choice has to support the text. It has to be implied by the text, and it has to end the text. And if it doesn't do all 3, it's not an answer. It's not possible. So, let's go through this. If this scientist, I'm going to read the whole thing because I have to. Scientists have recently discovered that a small flowering plant related to the cabbage and mustard, uses a form of immune system to remember pests, much like humans remember pathogens they have been exposed to. Cool. So they got their own immune system. Fantastic. If this finding is validated, it might suggest that I don't know, they can remember, they can adapt. Plants can adapt to different types of like they have like a immune system of their own, which is like a which can lead to specific like bugs, like it can repel bugs, cool stuff, whatever. I don't know. All plants. Yeah, I see all plants, and I'm immediately thinking like, there's no way on God's green earth that could be an answer. Why? Because it's extreme. I just avoid the answers. All only must be anything like that. Extreme answers always wrong. Okay, unless the author is like directly being extreme, it can't be right. So A is out. B, AT is more evolutionary advanced than other plant species. Is it? But we didn't get any indication of that. Why is it more evolutionary advanced? That's totally subjective opinion. No subjective opinion. It has to be objective fact based on the actual text. No way, no how, impossible. Let's keep going. C, plants have some form of memory related to pest exposure. Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, it supports it. It's inferred by it, right? Because we're talking about plants in general. Okay, because it doesn't directly state that, and it ends the text because it's the primary claim. I love that. Uh, D. Humans and AT share a common ancestor. There's no indication of that. That is so irrelevant. It's not even funny. That might be right, might be wrong. We have no idea. The answer here is C. So that wasn't that hard. 50s and 60s, pop art emerged as a radical movement that aimed to challenge traditional concepts of conceptions of fine art by incorporating imagery from pop culture, same thing, such as advertising and comic books. However, critics argue that by becoming part of the mainstream art scene, pop art lost its initial subversive power. Okay, so in other words, pop art, right? So let's say, for example, if art ever becomes popular, by definition, it sucks. I mean, that's a controversial point. We're not here to argue with the College Board, but that's basically what they're trying to indicate. That if art becomes popular, it automatically becomes no good. Something like that. I don't know. If these critics are right, it could imply that what? A, success may cause artistic movements to face challenges to their integrity. I kind of just said that. Okay. Yeah, it kind of kills the whole idea of the art movement itself. So I love A in every possible way. B, the mainstream art scene is resistant to radical ideas. No, if it was resistant, this wouldn't be a problem, which is what they're trying to indicate in the first place, right? So C, successful art movements inevitably lose again, inevitably. You can't pick extreme answer choices. All only must be inevitable. Whatever. Anything extreme is wrong. You can't pick answers that are so extreme. The pop art is no longer a relevant art movement since it became outdated more than 50 years ago. Okay. Okay. That's a stretch, right? Well, why is it no longer relevant? I mean, that's crazy. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to say that. There's no indication of that. That might be right. Yeah, you can have the opinion, but it doesn't say that in the passage. So, no. Okay. The answer here is clearly A. It's a slam dunk answer. So, let's move on. The Mona Lisa, painted by Leonardo da Vinci in the early 16th century, is arguably the most famous piece of the art world. Whatever. Its enigmatic smile and mysterious gaze continue to captivate audiences centuries after its creation. Despite its fame, there has been a persistent debate about the identity of the woman in the painting. This enduring controversy suggests that it's controversial. Well, I don't know. That indicating that the woman itself is not a really a relevant subject towards how famous the actual painting is. That's basically what I'm looking for, right? So, A, the Mona Lisa is an entirely fictional character. Okay, I just get rid of the word entirely. Okay, that's it. That's so extreme. Number one. Number two, this is a random fact. Great, not what I'm looking for. Remember, I came up with my own answer before I looked at the answer choices. Always do that. So A just doesn't work. B, Leonardo da Vinci intended to keep the woman's identity a secret. Did he? I don't understand. Like he kept it on the lock and key. Like I don't understand why all of a sudden we're getting that. Like that was really a stretch here. Let's move on. C, the woman in the Mona Lisa is likely a prominent figure in Renaissance society. If she was so prominent, we would have known about her, and she wouldn't be so, like there wouldn't be a controversy. We would know exactly who it is, right? Uh, so there would be no mysterious gaze. There would be nothing behind it. It would just, we know who it is, and anyway. D, the true identity of the woman in the Mona Lisa may never be conclusively known. Wow, that's extreme. Unfortunately, that is probably my favorite answer in this case because it's the only thing that's talking about the woman and the only thing that's giving like fuel, I should say, to the fact that we know nothing about her. So in this situation, while I do believe it's kind of extreme, right? But it does use the word like may, right? So kind of like, yeah, it has the word never. I know. I said all only must be never. Anything like that is automatically wrong, right? But in this case, it says may never. It's kind of like saying not always. When you say not always, you negate the extremity of the actual word itself. So in this case, I kind of got to go with D. Okay. Number one, there's nothing better. Number two, it's not as extreme as we think. And number three, it kind of answers the question and it matches exactly what I'm looking for. So yeah, I don't love the wording, but then again, I didn't make the College Board SAT. They like to do this. They like to play with words every once in a while. So it is what it is. Let's keep pushing. The Grapes of Wrath is a 1930 novel by John Steinbeck. This is illustrate. Illustrate means support. Support means illustrate. Illustrate, support, support, illustrate. Every single time you see this kind of question, you're looking for brand new information that's going to back up the claim. And the claim is always in the conclusion. I like to read the rest of it for context because it's really hard to understand otherwise. But understand that you're looking for something that's going to back up the claim. Okay, it's just that simple. The Grapes of Wrath is a 1939 novel by John Steinbeck. The story follows the Jode family who are forced off their land that they hold a special connection to. Cool. Okay, fine. Okay, so they're forced off their land, okay, and they hold a special connection to this land. So I'm looking for some kind of claim that's going to talk about getting them off their land and their connection to the land. Just those two things, okay? It could be one or the other, it could be both. It doesn't really matter in this situation. But anyway, A, in the eyes of the hungry, there is a growing wrath. In the souls of the people, the grapes of wrath are filling and growing heavy for the vintage. Okay, that has nothing to do with anything at all. Okay, I don't really see the fact that they're forced off their land, how they have a connection to the land. I don't see anything for that matter. B, we were born on the land and we got killed on it, died on it. That's what makes it ours. Being born on it, working on it, dying on it, that's ownership, not papers with numbers on it. Born on land, killed on it, died on it. It's ours. They have ownership of it. Yeah, I kind of like it fits on every regard. It doesn't really have the fact that they were forced off their land. Um, it doesn't really say that. I mean, we don't. Let's put it this way: we don't just don't know, right? We don't know if they were forced off their land on, in answer choice B. But I kind of love it in comparison to A. That's for sure. C. How can you frighten a man who's hungered not only in his own cramped stomach but in the wretched belly? Okay, that has nothing to do with anything. D. There ain't no sin and there ain't no virtue. They're just stuff people. No, no. I mean, the answer is clearly B here. Okay, really simple, really straightforward. Don't overdo it. Next, main idea. Main idea questions are broad scope questions, which means they have to have broad answers. Now, the broad scope question itself, there's two different types. Again, overall structure, main idea. Main idea is asking for the actual theme, the thesis, I should say, not the theme. The thesis is always found in the first sentence or the last sentence. 90% of the time, it's in the last sentence. So, really, I could just look at the last sentence and try to answer my question. I like to read these for context because I want to be perfect. And if I'm doing a live, I'm definitely reading the whole thing because I'm not making a mistake here. Dr. Jane Goodall, I'm going to look like an absolute idiot if I do, a renowned primatologist, believed that studying chimpanzees in their natural habitat could provide valuable insights into human behavior and evolution. Okay. Goodall traveled to Tanzania where she observed the animals closely, taking detailed notes on their social interactions and communication patterns. Over time, her research helped to transform our understanding of primate behavior, confirming her initial hypothesis. Okay, cool. So she basically transformed our whole ideology behind primate behavior. Fantastic. So I'm looking for something to encapsulate that main idea, that she kind of was revolutionary. She spearheaded a new movement. Anything along those lines would give me a good understanding of that. She helped transform our understanding of primates, and that confirmed her initial hypothesis. Anyway, and her initial hypothesis, let's be clear, just in case you don't understand, is primates will give insight into who we are as humans. So, A, Dr. Goodall's journey to Tanzania was motivated by her desire to explore new territories. Motivated by her desire to explore new territories. Was it? No, it was to back up her claim, right? And her claim was all about the fact that she wanted to transform our understanding of primate behavior and how it relates to us. So, no. B, the study of chimpanzees expanded our knowledge of human behavior and evolution. Perfect. That's exactly what I said. Now, you might go, okay, well, what do primates have to do with humans? Well, her whole hypothesis is that the more we understand about primates, the more we understand about humans. B is perfect. See, the social interactions of chimpanzees in Tanzania differ significantly from those in other regions. I'm not comparing monkey with monkey. I'm comparing monkey with human. Doesn't work. Dr. Goodall's research primarily focused on the communication pattern. Again, I don't care about monkey. I care about monkey applying to humans. That's what we're looking for. That's the thesis. That's the claim. So the answer here is clearly B. H. What is true about Catch 22? Let's find out. Uh, the following text is from Joseph Heller's 1961 novel, Catch 22. The novel is a satirical critique of military bureaucracy and the Madison work rate. There was only one catch, that was Catch 22, which specified that a concern for one's safety in the face of dangers that were real and immediate was the process of rational mind. Okay, so in other words, if you're in war about to die, you should be afraid. Yeah, that's like a rational human being. I would assume so. Fine. At least that's the indication. Or was crazy and could be grounded. All he had to do was ask. Okay. So he was crazy and he could be grounded. In other words, he didn't have to fly, right? Because he think he was a pilot or something. Yeah. And I'm guessing. I never actually read Catch 22, so I'm guessing he was a pilot, right? Because it was grounded. What does it mean to be grounded? To be a pilot. All he had to do was ask. Fine. And as soon as he did, he would no longer be crazy, and would have to fly more missions. Okay, I see what's going on. So basically, this is guy is crazy if he's not flying dangerous missions. I'll repeat that again. Guy is crazy if he's not flying dangerous missions. Okay, so in other words, there's a whole big thing on a lot of soldiers who experience combat and are fighting for years, and they come back to you know society, civilization, and they completely lose their minds. They don't know how to survive when they're not at war, when they're not in danger, when they're not at those kind of peak levels of like stress and anxiety. There's a whole psychological theory. You get used to it, whatever. I'm not going to go into all that. Okay. You have to have a certain amount of adrenaline, like adrenaline junkies, right? The adrenaline junkies, by definition, can't survive in normal society. They have to be jumping out of airplanes with no parachutes. Making a joke. Hilarious. Anyway, so the idea behind adrenaline junkies, the difference behind the idea behind like people who are constantly at war, they have to continue experiencing that war. So in this case, Orr was only crazy when he wasn't at war. That's the idea. And that's kind of nuts. But anyway, what is true? So this is a narrow scope question. Whenever it asks you like what is true about whatever, it's automatically narrow scope. You just have to directly find it. And in this case, what's true? He's only crazy when he's not flying missions. That's it. That's all I'm waiting for. So A, Catch 22 allows for an easy escape from dangerous situations. No, that's not what Catch 22 is about at all. Catch 22 is about like a logical contradiction between like what is real and what isn't, and it's kind of like you're kind of trapped into this scenario. So B, catch 22 is a paradox and traps those seeking to escape danger. Okay, kind of what I said, but without the use of paradox. So they use paradox all the time, right? SAT loves to use the word paradox. What is a paradox? A paradox is a logical contradiction. That's what it is. Logical contradiction that completely and utterly contradicts logic and reason. Okay, so I'll give you guys a perfect example. There's something called the grandfather paradox. Okay, you guys can look it up. The grandfather paradox indicates this. So let's just say, for example, if you go back in time, okay, let's just say you go back in time and prevent your parents from ever meeting, right? Again, human being goes back in time, prevents their parents from ever meeting. I don't know how, it doesn't matter. So imagine your parents never met. If your parents never met, well, how were you born in the first place? You wouldn't be. But if you were never born in the first place, how did you ever prevent your parents from meeting? Paradox. It's a logical time loop that doesn't make any sense, right? Because if you go back in time, prevent them from ever meeting, they never met, you were never born. If you were never born, how'd you ever do the action in the first place? What, all of a sudden is like a new timeline shift? Yeah, okay, that's the physics, all you physics nerds. Like, oh, there's this new parallel dimension that gets created. Yeah, okay, fine. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. The point here is that a paradox is something that essentially caves in on itself. Okay, in other words, guy in danger only feels sane if he's in danger. That's considered a paradox, right? Because it's the opposite of what we think logically. Anyway, so let's look at B. Catch 22 is a paradox that entraps those seeking to escape danger. Yeah, okay, it just entraps you, right? Because you have no other choice. The more danger you are, the more adrenaline you feel, the happier you get, and the more comfortable normal you become. And then you come back to normal society, and it's no longer normal for you. You're more stressed out than in war. So the answer here is clearly B. I'll go through the rest. C. Catch 22 applies only to or in his specific circumstances. Okay. Take it easy with this extreme. This is not only, this is only super extreme, automatically wrong. The Catch 22 encourages soldiers to be more courageous. Does it? I don't see how that fit here. This is not like a military strategy here. It doesn't work. Another narrow scope question. Based on the text, what is true about tests? I'm looking for something very specific about a specific character within this. The following text is from Thomas Hardy's 1891 novel, Tess of the whatever. Tess, a young woman from a poor family, has an encounter with Alec that leads to her downfall. Great. Why it was that upon this beautiful feminine tissue, sensitive as gossamer and practically blank as snow as yet, there should have been traced such a coarse pattern as it was doomed to receive. Why so often the coarse appropriates the finer, thus the wrong man, the women. That's so confusing. The wrong man, the wrong woman, the man, many thousand years of analytical philosophy have failed to explain to our sense of order. Ugh, I have no clue what that means. So let's go again. Why was that upon this beautiful feminine tissue, sensitive as a gossamer and practical blank as snow as yet, there should have been a trace such a coarse pattern as was doomed to receive? Why so often the course appropriates the finder, thus the wrong man, the wrong woman, the man. So basically, woman picked the wrong man, and as a result of the woman picking the wrong man, her circumstances were essentially all sorts of messed up. I guess that's where we're going with this. A bit of a stretch. Anyway, A. Tess is described as being mentally strong. Doesn't mention her mental strength, so no. B. Tess has already experienced much of life. Has she? Is she old? There's no indication of this. C. Tess is depicted as innocent, being exposed to harsh circumstances. Yes, that's literally what it says, right? This beautiful feminine tissue, sensitive as gossamer. Gossamer's like really young and naive, and practically blank as snow as yet, like more allusion towards naivety. There should have been traced such a coarse pattern as was doomed to receive. Coarse means harsh, rough. Everything here indicates that. By far, it's like C. D. Tess has made deliberate choices leading to her downfall. Was she? Or she picked the wrong man or woman? I wouldn't say deliberate choices. I would say maybe a deliberate choice, as in one. I don't know. It's a little bit of a stretch. The answer here is clearly C, though. So, because it's directly stated, and these questions are always easy. If you ever see like what is true, easy. Done, do it, get it over with. Six, last one. This looks like a poem. So poems, I call them dirty. The reason why I call them dirty is because you have to pay attention to four specific things: dirt, descriptions, implications, repetitions, and titles. Okay, those four things are what are always important when it comes to poems. Poems are also combo questions, right? So they can be in combination or conjunction with like an overall structure question, which is asking you specifically about timeline. So poems are hard, overall structure are easy. You mix the two and you kind of have something in between easy and hard. So it's like a medium question. Okay, that's just basically how I think about it. But all you have to do is pay attention to the timeline for overall structure. So let's see. The following text is from Robert Frost's 1916 poem, Birches. One of the key things for poems, by the way, read them literally, or as literal as humanly possible. When I see birches bend to left and right, across the lines of straighter, darker trees, I like to think some boy's been swinging them. But swinging doesn't bend them down to stay, as ice storms do. Often, you must have seen them loaded with ice a sunny winter morning. After a rain, they click upon themselves as the breeze rises and turn many colored as the stir cracks and crazes their enamel. So we're literally talking about branches of a tree. And we're literally talking about some boy who's swinging on these branches of the tree. That's it. So overall structure, some guy, or rather, I guess it's Robert Frost, sees bends and breaks in like a tree branch, and it's because some boy's been swinging on them. That's basically like the whole concept here of this poem. Let's go into it. A, the poem introduces a natural scene. True. Then offers an alternative explanation for the observed phenomena. Yeah, because it wasn't made from a natural means, it was made by some boy. A is good. B, the poem presents a nostalgic memory. What? There's no memory here. That's out. C, the poem describes the beauty of a winter morning. Yes. Then shifts to the destructive effects of ice storm. Stop it. Okay, this was a boy who broke the branches, not the ice storm. D, the poem explores the impact of human activities on nature. That was the beginning. I'm sorry, that was the end, not the beginning, right? The beginning was more like what it looked like, the winter scene. It doesn't really fit here. Then considers the resilience of natural. No, I mean, the answer here is clearly A. Okay, so just be careful with these. These are not difficult. And oh, I made a boo boo. Well, oh no, we already did this one, right? Because we did number five. I thought it was another reading question. So that's basically the idea here of how you have to be breaking down an entire reading and writing module one. Okay, for those of you who already went through this, you got the general idea and breaking down each and every single piece. Now, I don't want to do nothing but reading. I'm actually going to go and start doing some math questions as well. We're going to break down each and every single piece together and see where it goes. Okay, so I guess I'll just start with module two hard. Yeah, we'll just start with module two hard. I'll work our way backwards. Okay, let's get really nasty with this. We'll go through the most difficult problems from question 22. We'll work backwards and then we'll continue on our next live. Okay, we're going to be doing this live every Monday, 7 p.m. Okay, I might add another day. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how it goes. I do want to go live at least 2-3 hours a week. At least 2-3 hours a week, but it also depends. This is like our very first live. We're going to be pushing this as much as we possibly can. Yeah, we're gonna go nuts. Okay, that's basically we're gonna do everything live. And hopefully it'll help you guys because we really want to make a push for this March SAT. We want to get the best results we've ever gotten. That is the goal. That is the dream, to have you all hit 1500s and call it a day. Okay, that is the essential dream here. Let's go. Okay, I'm gonna take a screenshot of each and every single piece so we can go through it, and let's go. So that being said, I think if you guys should be able to see it, I'm gonna double check. Yeah, everybody should be able to see it. That's without an issue. Yeah, it's a little bit of a pause due to poor connection. Oh, I'm back. Okay, cool. All right, let's go through this. So in the XY plane, a parabola vertex 5, -3. Guys, I see vertex, I immediately think vertex form, which if you don't know what vertex form, it follows y equals a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. Okay, you need to know that formula. If you don't know that formula, you're screwed. So the h and k is essentially the vertex. So in this case, I have my vertex immediately. That's hk. Okay, so all I do is plug them in. Okay, just be careful with the signs, because you see what I'm going to do is when I plug it in, I get y equals a parentheses x minus -5 squared. Minus minus is technically a plus. Okay, and the squared is all the way on the outside. So just be careful with that. And of course, I'm going to plug in the -3 here, plus -3, which, if you really think about it, it's just -3. So I'll rewrite that. It becomes y equals a parentheses x plus 5 squared minus 3. Okay. Now, I actually did this problem with one of my students earlier today. Sean, if you're here, better be paying attention, dude, because I'm going to be freaking going over this problem on Wednesday or Thursday whenever I see you next. Okay, let's do this. So I'm going to first foil this out because I have to follow rules of PEMDAS. Notice how I didn't read the rest of the problem yet. Okay, I don't do that, especially with the more difficult problems. I kind of expand out what it is that I could possibly need, and then I'll pick and choose what I possibly need from there. Otherwise, it's too difficult to answer the question. It's too much information all at the same time. Follow a system and train of thought each and every single time, and you will absolutely crush this exam. So I'm going to FOIL this out, x with 5 squared. I'll do that quickly. I get y equals a parentheses x squared plus 10x plus 25. Should be able to FOIL out quickly in the SAT. I mean, you better be, because otherwise you won't have time. If I distribute out the a, I get y equals ax squared plus 10ax plus 25a minus 3. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to read the rest of the question and intersect the x-axis at 2 points. As soon as I see x-axis at 2 points, I immediately think quadratic solution, 2 solutions. When I see quadratic, okay, your mind should become essentially a difference engine. You see things, right? You got vertex, right? It's clearly quadratic. Okay, that's, you see parabola, you see everything here. It's obviously okay. Then you go plus 2 solutions, 2 intersects, 2 solutions, same thing, equals discriminant. Okay, cannot emphasize that enough. And when you think discriminant, you go d equals b squared minus 4ac. That's discriminant. And it's either greater than 0, equal to 0, or less than 0. In this case, it's greater than 0 because there's 2 solutions. Equal to 0 is 1 solution, less than 0 is no solutions. In this case, it's obviously 0, greater than 0. So if I'm going to do that, b squared minus 4ac, I go 10a squared minus 4 times a times c. So that's 25a minus 3. And this has to be greater than 0. Okay. Now, if I FOIL that out, I'm going to get 100a squared minus 100a squared. This is annoying. Minus plus 12. Yeah, 12a. 12a greater than 0. Okay. Cancels out. I get 12a is greater than 0. Basically, a is greater than 0. Cool. At least I solved one part. If the equation of parabola is written in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, okay, cool. I got that from here. This is the ax squared plus bx plus c part. And then it says where a, b, and c are constant, which of the following could be the value for a plus 2b plus c. That's easy. My a here is a. My b here is 10a because it's the coefficient in front of x, right? You have to think about what a, b, and c is. Coefficient in front of x squared, coefficient in front of x, constant, right? No variable surrounding it. So my c here is 25a minus 3. And what do? I want to do 4a plus 2b plus c. So 4a plus 2b plus c. So if I do that out, I get 4a plus 20a plus 25a minus 3, which is 24a, 49a minus 3, right? And that's essentially what I'm looking for here. Now, I know a is greater than 0. So if a is greater than 0, that means essentially I can plug in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's going to get me one of these as an answer choice. That's just what it is. Now, if I, let's just say, plug in a is 1, I would get 49 minus 3, which is 46. Okay? 46 as a possible answer choice. Now, did I make a boo-boo somewhere? 4a plus 20 plus 25a minus 3. And if I plug in a is greater than 0, did I make a mistake? 100a squared minus 100a squared plus 12a is greater than 0. I don't see any issues so far. 49a minus 3, if I set that... Oh, I didn't make a mistake. This is more annoying than I originally thought. I have to actually go 49a minus 3, and I have to actually set it equal to negative 5, equal to 0, equal to negative 17. In other words, equal to each and every single answer choice. Because only one of them is going to give me an a value that's actually going to be positive. Because it has to follow the rule, a is greater than 0. So that is super annoying. Sucks to be me. Okay. So in this situation, I'm gonna... Okay, so I can actually do this pretty easily. If I do plus 3, it's a little bit it's very not neat, but whatever. 49a equals negative 2. Immediately you can see a is negative. Okay, so a is out. If I do 49a plus 3, I'm going to get equals 3. Cool. That works beautifully, right? Because it's 3 over 49. If I do 49a minus 3 equals negative 17, if I add 3 to each side, I'm going to get negative 14. That's out. And negative 12 is also going to give me a negative value. Okay, so clearly the answer is B. It was just a decimal value. I was thinking 46, but you can easily put a decimal in here, and yeah, that'll work like this. So yeah, there you go. Okay, that'll be that. Okay, let's do a couple more problems because I promised everybody I would do this for about an hour and a half. We're gonna pick up where we left off next time. 21. Oof, this is even worse. So this is like the most difficult problem that could possibly come up. We will leave it here. Okay, I will finish this problem. We'll leave it here. Let's not get crazy with this because this problem is rough. Okay, let's be really clear. This problem is very, very rough. Ooh, not what I meant. Okay, so a cube has one edge of length x. Okay, so I got a cube. Okay, and for a cube, all the sides are the same. Cool. Surface area is C. So a couple things you need to know about cube. First off, you should know that if you click your reference table, it'll give you the volume right away. It's just length times width times height. Or in this case, for a cube, since length, width, and height are all the same, it's just x cubed. Now, the surface area for a cube is just 6x squared, because you can take the area of one side, multiply by 6. Okay? It's that simple. So 6x squared is equal to C in this situation. I don't really care about the units in this situation because it's more like a volume area type problem. Sometimes you do care about units, but not in this case. If the cube is cut in half, resulting in two identical rectangle prisms. So if I chop this in half, I'm going to get basically two rectangular prisms. So essentially, I'm going to get something that looks like this, just smaller version, and something that looks like this. Okay. And essentially what I'm going to have is, instead of each side being x now, I'm going to have each, the where I cut it in half, be x over 2, but everything else is going to stay as x, right? Because the length and width didn't change, except the only thing that really changed is the piece that I cut in half. So now my length is going to be different, and my volume for each one is also going to be different, because the volume here is going to be length times width times height, which is x over 2 times x, which is x cubed over 2. So the volume is easy, but the surface area, it's not 6x squared anymore. It's for a rectangular prism, it's 2 times length times width, plus 2 times width times height, plus 2 times width length. I can't undo. Can I erase? Yes, I can. Well, 2 width height, and 2 length height. Okay. So if I do that here, since the only thing that changes is the length, 2 times x over 2 times x plus 2 times x times x. plus 2 times x over 2 times x. So if I do that out, I get x squared plus 2x squared plus x squared, which is 4x squared. Okay, so that's the surface area for each one now. So cool. If the cube is cut in half, there's only in two identical prisms. The surface area of both prisms is m over nc, but it's both prisms. So I'm going to add them together. So both prisms is 4x squared plus 4x squared, and that's supposed to give me m over nc. Now I already know what c is. It's here, 6x squared. So I'll take the 6x squared, I'll shove it in for c. I get 8x squared, I'll just combine these two, equals m over n times 6x squared. Now what can I do? Divide both sides by 6x squared and cancel out the x squareds. Okay, well, cancel out the 6 as well. So I get x squareds will cancel. I get 8 over 6 equals m over n. I'll simplify that. That becomes 4 over 3. And what I'm asking for is in the reduced form, what is the possible value of m plus n when m over n is in the reduced form? So it's just, if I can say that m is 4, n is 3, so the answer is just clearly 7. Okay, it's just that simple. Yeah, that wasn't simple. That's just a flat out lie. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, okay, it's definitely one of the more difficult problems, and it's definitely one of the most difficult problems. Anyway, guys, I will be breaking down the rest of it. I'm going to be going live every Monday, 7 p.m. Okay, all you have to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure we're going to do this on YouTube. I might do this on Facebook Live. I highly doubt it because YouTube gives a lot of content. I have to just make sure that it doesn't have child control locks next time. But regardless of the situation, guys, it was a pleasure seeing you guys. This is going to be recorded, posted on YouTube, and I'm going to be going live multiple times so we can really break down each and every single exam. I plan on doing a lot of problems for you guys so you guys really get prepared for the SAT coming up March 14th, which, by the way, I am registered for. Okay, I'm actually taking it in Medgar Evers College Prep college, high school. I don't know where it is. Regardless, it's somewhere downtown Brooklyn-ish. Okay, myself and all my instructors included, we're all breaking down the exam. We're all doing it together. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to make a group activity out of it. We're going to go live there as well. And I will keep you guys posted as we get more and push more and really have some fun with this. Anyway, guys, have a great night. Enjoy school tomorrow. And for everybody who's listening, bye.